Hey guys, welcome back. Alright, so about 10 days ago, roughly, as I'm making this video, I competed in one of the Leona Divide trail races. And not just any trail race. Got my little participation medal here. But another thing that I got was my very first 100-mile distance belt buckle, because I competed in the 100-mile race. And this is my very first one. I've wanted to do an ultramarathon like this for, I think I started thinking about them in 2010. Really wanted to start doing them in 2012. Whole long line of things why I didn't compete until now. But I finally got my first 100-miler under my belt. Even like a belt buckle. And if you're into ultra racing and ultra running and so forth, you know that 100-mile plus distances, you get a belt buckle, a little buckle. This is what you get at the end of the race. This is my very first one. So happy. And I wanted to talk about the race because it was a pretty interesting experience, and it's by far the longest I've gone on. You say a run, but it's like it's a race. There's a lot of hiking and running in this because it's over mountains and so forth. So you can't fully run the whole thing. Most people can't. Some people can get pretty close. It was about 50-50. 50% running, 50% speed hiking as quick as I could. Before this, the longest race that I had done was a 50K, which is 31 miles. And I think I ended up at like 32 by the end of that one. For some reason, it was just a hair over. But that was the longest distance. And I've done probably 10 marathons-ish outside of that. And 50K technically counts as an ultramarathon. But to me, it just didn't feel legit, because I feel like if you can run a marathon, going an extra like 5 miles to get that 31-mile mark isn't that much harder, especially if you just pace yourself a little slower. An extra 5 miles after isn't a big deal. So going from 31 miles to 100 miles with no in-between races. I didn't move up to 50 mile and then 100K, which is like 62 miles, and then to 100. Like a lot of people go through all those stages. I didn't do any of that. I just did the jump. I was like, forget it. I'm just going right to the 100-miler. One of the races that I want to compete in, I've wanted to do for a long time, is the Badwater 135. I think I mentioned this in a previous video. But the requirements for that are that you have to have 4 100-mile or longer ultramarathons within a 4-year period just to be eligible to get into the race. You still might not get picked, but that's just to qualify for that race. So I was like, if I'm going to spend my money on these races, I need to just start going for the 100-milers so I can start getting my qualifications for this big race. The whole thing came up at a really great time too. I signed up in December, and the race was on April 20th. I signed up just in mid-December sometime, and I got a job. The payment came in for the job, and literally minutes after the payment went in my bank account, they announced the entry for this Leona Divide 100-mile ultramarathon. And I was like, okay, that's awesome. Where is this? And I looked it up. In the race is only, the start of the race is 24 minutes from my house, which couldn't be more convenient. So I was like, okay, signed up first day that they had registration. And from December to now, or up until the race, I could not stop thinking about it. I must have looked at that map hundreds of times. They put up a map that shows the elevation and all the checkpoints and all the stuff. And I just studied that map over and over and over and over and over to try to figure out just how I'm going to do this thing. I run semi-regularly, but I wasn't in shape probably to do a 100-miler. I'm going to do a video specific on the training because I kind of had little setbacks that might have been helpful in the long run. Anyway, started the race day. Race started at 5:30 in the morning on Saturday, April 20th. We're up there at the start line. I'm just like packed as much stuff as I could. Hopefully, I've never done one of these before, so I'm just going to go for it. And we just set out. 5:30 in the morning, set out. And I didn't have a cramp. I didn't bonk at all. I didn't have any low spots at all. Didn't get a rash. None of the stuff that people always talk about in ultramarathons. And I have a lot of friends that run ultramarathons. Like that trail race I was telling you about in February. I've done for a few years now. Every single person in that race, except for me, has done 100-mile plus races, many of them. Now I feel like I'm finally in the club officially, which is great. But all of them, and then every YouTuber I watch that does ultramarathons, they always talk about, oh, you're gonna get a low spot, just work through it, just keep going, don't give up, you'll pass, blah blah. I was expecting that the whole race. I'm thinking I'm gonna hit a wall soon, and I'm gonna have to, you know, get through it. Never happened. Felt great the whole time. Felt freaking great. Now, part of that I think was due to my race day strategy, which was no matter what the incline, even like a gradual incline that I would typically just run always, I'm like, walk it. Just walk it. Doesn't matter. You'll make up your time as long as you make it before the cutoff. The end cutoff was 33 hours. So if you went just a little faster than a walking pace and didn't, you know, over the course of the whole race, you could technically make it. However, it's not quite true because some of the cutoff points along the way, there were all these aid stations, and there were cutoffs at the different aid stations. And the cutoffs were actually didn't allow you to go quite that slow. You had to go fast enough to make the cutoffs, which I almost missed one. Almost missed one. And that would have been such a bummer. I'll get to that in a minute. This course goes over multiple mountains. There's over close to 17,000 feet of elevation gain in this, and elevation like gain and loss. So you have to go up and down. And the course was an out and back with all these weird little side excursions that all went out and back. So you covered the same trails in both directions the whole way through the race. At the point, let's see, probably mile 26 was my first marathon. I was still feeling really good. It's like, all right, I guess I'm still cruising. Cruised through to mile 30 or so, past Firestone Ranch, which is where they shot the movie Nope. And as I was taking video of that, I wiped out really hard. Just kicked a stupid rock, just trying to take, not paying attention, taking video. I was going, wiped out really hard, fell on my back, landed on my brand new trekking poles, which we'll get to in a second here. And I hadn't used them yet. They're on my backpack, just like this. So I fell and rolled, landed on all these rocks. And these trekking poles just, I thought for sure I broke them because it sounded awful. I made this like pretty much slid on these rocks. Big rocks, not, you know, grapefruit size kind of things. And it was fine. It was good.
What's up, Gordon?
How you doing, dude?
I'm fucking
You're kicking ass, man.
You are too.
Cruise down, and at the aid station at mile 30, like 33-ish, 32 and a half, I got a list here with all the aid stations. There was crew access, which means you could have someone there with extra supplies. So my wife was my crew. Natalie came, she met me there. I restocked all my stuff, made my secret freaking awesome sports drink, which I'm going to do a video on. Hung out there, got some food, and then head off back up the hill. And at this point, I broke out the hiking poles. This was, again, mile 33 or so. And from that point on, the whole rest of the race, I used these poles. And they were very helpful with, I just click open like this. They're real lightweight, carbon fiber. They really helped with the uphills because I was hiking the uphills. My goal was to not run any uphills, but I was hiking them quickly. So I was trying to stay like between 17, 19 minute miles, which is faster than a normal walking pace, but doing it up the hill, almost dropped that. The trekking poles, super helpful for that. I had no idea how good they were. I've never used these on a run before. So these were highly useful, and they were in my hands for the whole rest of the race. So another 67-ish miles I was carrying these poles, and very happy I brought them. Never run with them before. Really good. And when I restocked at the car, I got, you know, my food, my snacks, whatever, and I was supposed to grab extra batteries for my headlamp and grab another headlamp and a flashlight because I knew I wasn't going to see Natalie again until almost mile 70, I think mile 68 or so. And by this time, I'm sure it was going to be dark. So I had a headlamp, this little guy, this little Energizer, not an expensive, nice running headlamp, like a little cheapo thing you could probably get at CVS. I had this at the very beginning of the race because the race started in the dark, but it was only dark for maybe 30 minutes. So I had this just in case. It's in my bag, thankfully, because I forgot all my stuff. And so I run out. On the way back over the hill, probably mile 40, 42, I came across a big old rattlesnake, which is really exciting. And the rattlesnakes in California, I've come across lots of them on my runs. They don't rattle. Like in Florida, where I'm from, the rattlesnakes will rattle at you. If you're 6 feet away, you hear them. They won't let you get near them without freaking out. They don't do that here. You almost step on them all the time. Well, I'm cruising down this trail, and all of a sudden, and I've never heard that in California like that. It was right next to me. It was like almost stepped on the damn thing. It was all coiled up, like it was ready to strike it. So that was exciting. I made it to mile 50 before it got dark, which was great. So here I am halfway through the race, still not nighttime yet. So the next 4 miles was about another hour out. So I hit 50 before sunset, and the sun started going down. Also, I just hit 50 miles, which means I'm officially halfway through this race, which is awesome, because the second 50 miles only has like 7,000 feet of elevation gain, and the first half had over 10,000. So even though it's a long way to go, and it's still a lot of climbing, it's 3,000 less feet of climbing, which is good. And I'm very close to my kind of like guesstimate on my finishing time, if I can keep my pace good, if I don't bomb out too hard in a couple miles. I feel really good right now, by the way, so we'll see. I'll keep you updated. That is real nice. 53 miles in, so it's starting to go down. I'm about to switch to my headlamp, and the last stop we were supposed to grab some extra lights and my batteries, and I think I forgot to do it. So I got one headlamp, I hope, to get me to mile 70 maybe. So I think the moon is almost full tonight, which means that it should be pretty light out. And if it is, I'll keep the headlamp usage to a minimum just to make sure I can get by if it's important. And by 54, it was getting dark. And at this point, it was like on the way down to that last aid station on the other side of this mountain. I went to take out the headlamp out of my bag, realized I hadn't packed all my other lights because I had, like I said, flashlight, extra backup headlamp, batteries, all this stuff. Didn't pack any of it. So I go to get my light out, and when I pull it out, it's already like turned on. It's on like this in my backpack. And I have no idea how long it's been on for. I don't know if I clicked it on while I was trying to fish it out, or if it's just been on since the morning. I have no idea. The light is on. It's just getting dark. I have no backup light. So I'm like, oh, great. Finally get down to the next aid station, mile 54.5, say 55. I got soup and refilled my beverages and so forth. And I said, you guys does anybody here have extra AAA batteries? Just need 3 of them. And fortunately, a guy happened to have 3 of them in a little bag, and he gave them to me. So I had him with me as like a little bit of reassurance just in case this thing died. But the moon it wasn't quite full, but it was pretty close. So there's a lot of like moonlight out. So when I left the aid station, there was a big fire road, and I'm just like, I could see enough without my light on. So light off, I was just gonna save it until I really needed it. And I head up the fire road, and at one point I look over and I see this thing floating. Like the trail's on a mountain, right? So picture the trail's like this, a big road, and then here it just drops off, and on this side it just goes up a big hill, and I'm going up. And I just see this thing kind of like floating on the other side of bushes. What the hell is that? I turn on the light, and it's like a mylar heart balloon out in the middle of nowhere, just like floating too low in the middle of the night. There's nobody around. I'm in the mountains by myself. There's other runners out on the course, but they're like really spread out, so there's nobody around me. It's dark. And this creepy balloon looked like something from It, you know. I was like, all right, guess I have to deal with that. Turn my light back off and kept cruising. And from that point, there's a couple little out and back aid station stops that are more remote, so you can refill your drinks, but they don't have like full support where you can have a drop bag and so forth. And I'm headed off to the next one where I'm going to meet Natalie. I forgot one thing. The one time I felt anything on the whole run, after I got that soup from that last aid station, this was about mile 60 maybe, I was coming back, and I had that weird like sudden like saliva in my mouth, like I was gonna throw up. I'm like, oh god, what is that? And then I had my stomach went, whoa, I'm gonna puke, and I went, Nothing. And then another one, nothing. And then I felt better. Didn't even throw up. Nothing came out. It was maybe 40 seconds of feeling sick. And that was it. That was the worst spot of the whole run. But then anyway, cruised on, got to mile 68 aid station. Natalie was there. I'm being very relaxed with my pace. Like I'm running, walking, but like keeping it cool. It took me a little longer to get to that aid station because some of the trails in between there were single track, and they were literally like this tiny narrow trail that was off camber and like slippery, and there's like just a drop off into the darkness on one side. And there was a whole area that I'd plotted in my, when I was going back and forth on the maps, where I would run, where I'd walk. I plotted that I'd be running that whole section because it was pretty level, not much elevation change, but it was so sketchy that I ended up having to like hike a lot of it just so I didn't crash and like die. So it took me quite a bit longer to get to that next aid station just because I was going, so I felt fine, felt totally fine. There's no hills. I just was scared to run. So I ended up taking longer. And I got there. It's a really good setup there because they had room for crew so people could be there. So Natalie met me there, but they had all this food, tons of stuff. You could get food. So I got something to eat, refilled all my stuff, got an avocado. And the guy at the aid station was so chill, like, hey, hang out, take a seat. Like, like what? And first of all, I didn't sit down once for the whole race. I didn't sit down at all. No sitting. I was like, if I sit down, I might not get up. My legs felt good when I was moving, but I knew if I stopped, it might not be a good thing. So I just stayed up the whole time. I said, no, I'm not going to sit. Went to Natalie's car, refilled my stuff, got my secret energy drink again. It was really good. Editing Gordon here. I'm going to add this little clip in. I almost forgot to mention that I made it all the way to the aid station at mile 68 where I met Natalie again. That's where I finally could get my lights. And this little Energizer light, this cheapo little light, I never had to change the batteries in it. I thought those batteries that guy gave me, never had to use them. I almost forgot to come back to this story. Never had to use the batteries, kept them in here. This light held up amazing. When I got to mile 68, I grabbed my extra headlamp, bunch of extra batteries. I used my big headlamp, which is really bright, and that lasted me almost till morning. And I swapped back to this one, kept using this for the next couple hours till daylight, and it was amazing. So if I had to recommend a light, there's all these Petzl and these really, really nice lights, but this little silly Energizer light, it's awesome, and it takes regular batteries, so you can carry batteries with you. These are cheap, so you could get 2 or 3 of those for the price of like a fancy running light that you have to recharge with a USB cable, that if it dies on you on the trail, you can't just swap the batteries in it very easily. They make some that you can swap batteries, but it's like a specialty, battery, like some proprietary thing, and if you don't have that battery that's already charged on USB, but on this, you can have AAA batteries, and I really like that. Anyway, back to the video. I was cruising back through, and Natalie left, and I was heading back to the trail, and I passed the aid station again, and the guy's there, and I see the next runner behind me is like way up the mountain, but I could see his light coming down. Like he's ways back, but he'd be there in like 10 minutes probably. And I said, oh, look, there's the next runner. And fortunately, I'm really, really, really glad I said this, because he goes, oh, he's going to get cut off. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, yeah, he's like, the cutoff's in 8 minutes, and there's no way he's going to make it down here in time. I was, cutoff's in 8 minutes. And I didn't realize that the cutoffs were so close. Like, it's all written down, but my brain just kind of forgot about it because my pace was good. I knew I was going to make it in time. Plotting the distance to the end versus my pace, I was doing fine. But I'm like, oh my God, I'm really close to the cutoff at this one. I said, what's the cutoff at the next aid station? And he goes, oh, it's in 2 hours, which is 3:45 in the morning. So it's in 2 hours. And I'm like, how far is it? He goes, 8 miles. I was like, holy shit. So 8 miles in 2 hours isn't bad to run, but this is over a mountain. So there's like 2,000, 3,000 feet of elevation gain and loss. And it's all single track and windy. And I'm just like, oh my God, great. So I got to like book it. Unfortunately, I'd been going pretty easy. So I had a lot of stamina at this point. I was ready to go. And so I truck off. I'm hiking really fast. And I come up the trail, and I hook up this little fire road, and I hike up the fire road, and then the road just stops. Into the road. And there's just like a brick wall at the end of this section of road. I'm like, oh man. And I'm looking around. Where's the trail? There's no trail. And I was like, oh my God, I missed something. I went all the way back down. And right at the beginning, there were all these reflective markers. And I interpreted them as they're going off the fire road. But in actuality, right across the fire road, there was a little single track trail that I was supposed to be on. And it was a guide for that. I just read it wrong. So I just lost 15 minutes. Now I'm already stressed out about making this next thing. Not good, right? So I'm just booking it through this whole next section, from that aid station to the next aid station. I'm going as quick as I can manage. And there were times when I was like, oh, I could chill. Nope. And then corrected myself. Don't chill. Just go. And I can see the aid station. I'm coming down the mountain, hooking through all the trails, and I'm almost there. And as I'm getting close, I'm just like, oh, I could just walk. But I'm like, nope, just run it. And I'm so glad I did, because right as I hit that aid station, they ring the bells. Like, they see a runner coming in, so like ding, 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 ding. You know, they have little cowbells and people cheer for you. And I got there, and the woman's like, you had 1 minute left. You made it with 1 minute to spare for the cutoff. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, at this point, I think I'm like 84 miles in. Where am I at? Let me see. I'll tell you. I was at mile 84. 84. If I would have made it out 84 and got cut off with 16 miles left, I would have been so freaking sad. 1 minute. Made it with 1 minute. And again, I'm feeling really good. I've been feeling good this whole time. So I'm like, oh my God, when's the next cutoff? And they're like, it's at 6:45. This is 3:45 in the morning. Yep. You have 3 hours to make the next cutoff. How far is it? 8 more miles out to the next one. I was like, okay. Okay, let's get going. And I take off to go on this hike. Again, it's over another mountain. You have to go over a mountain, down to the other side. And when I left, I'm thinking, well, if I keep my pace, I could technically walk 8 miles in 3 hours and make my next cutoff. Just walking would be fine. And then the way back is even longer. It would have been, I'm like, oh, this is cake. This is super easy. Started heading up this mountain, and it is the steepest of all the trails I've done so far. So my pace, my hiking pace, which has been sub 20-minute miles almost this entire race, is now 27-minute miles. And I can't go faster. It's just too steep. So my pace is 27-minute miles. And so now I'm looking at my time and being like, well, there's no way I'm going to make it at this time. So it's the same thing. So as soon as I'm hitting flat and downhill, I am pretty much sprinting at this point. My fastest miles of the whole race were after mile 84. I was flying. So I feel like that's a good thing. I made it this far, and I still have all this energy left, which, you know, maybe for my next one, I'll balance it a little better. I'll run a little more. I'll run some of the uphills for the next race. I won't just completely cut them out. That was really hard for me to do. By the way, if you're this far in the video, I got to tell you that cutting off hills that I would typically run any other time and not running them was almost mentally very challenging for me, because I could just run this. And I was like, nope, don't do it. But anyway, so here I am, got all this energy, running, make my next checkpoint, I'm good. I start cruising back. I know this one, from that checkpoint back to the other one, I have like 5 hours. So I'm good on that. But I'm still booking along. Now, mind you, at the last checkpoint where the guy told me, oh, this guy behind you is going to get cut off, that meant at that point, I was the last runner, still running, competing in the race. Everybody behind me had been cut off or dropped out. And so I'm like the last guy, still on the course. So when I went out to that other checkpoint, the 6:45 checkpoint, on the way back, I think I'm at this point 8 miles to the end of the race. I end up catching up with this guy who I was talking to at the very beginning of the race. His name is AJ, and he had booked ahead. He was quite a ways ahead of me. I would see him, cross paths with him on some of the parts where, you know, he hit the end of it and he's coming back, and I passed him. So I knew he was quite a bit ahead of me, but he must have just started bonking, like hit the wall. And I caught up with him about mile like 92 or something. And then I passed him, I checked in, and from the last check-in before the end of the race, it was like, I don't know, it was like they started, because it was getting later in the day, they were starting to remove the markers. So I didn't see all the trail markers. And this trail had been marked really, really great the whole time, but I just wasn't seeing the trail markers. You kind of get used to seeing markers all over the place. I'm on a trail, I'm like, I do not know if I'm going the right way. So I kept stopping, and I'm looking at my watch. This watch has like turn by turn GPS things. You can load in the map data from the race people, sponsors, the organizers, and put it in your watch. And now I've got navigation. So if I got too far off course, it lets me know. And the 2 times that I went off course, my watch was telling me, and I was like, huh. I thought the watch was probably wrong, but I should have just paid attention because it was actually correct. So I'm on this trail, like working my way toward the very end of the race. At this point, from the last checkpoint to the end of the race is only a 10K, which is like a little over 6 miles. And I don't know if I'm in the right place. And then 4 miles from the finish, I suddenly have to poop real bad. And I'm on this like mountain where the trail is single track. It's the Pacific Crest Trail, which actually, when you see, where did I put my buckle? My cool buckle. This little triangular shape here, all the Pacific Crest Trail signs are this shape. So they did it to match the trail because a lot of the races on Pacific Crest Trail. And if you don't know, Pacific Crest Trail is kind of like the West Coast equivalent of the Appalachian Trail, as far as like it goes from Mexico all the way up to Canada or something. It's really long, but a big chunk of it goes through California, right here where I'm at. Anyway, I had to poop real bad. All of a sudden, couldn't hold it to the end of the race, so I had to like go off and find a spot that was hidden. That cost me another 15 minutes trying to like fish around through some little weird ravine trying to find a private spot, which I didn't. I kind of just went for it, hoping nobody would see me. Nobody did, but I was pretty exposed, which is great. If you ever have to do that, I highly recommend. Don't recommend. I don't know. I cruise out, and this guy AJ that's behind me, I'm still not seeing him. And the way the mountains wind around, I was way up on the trail, and I could look back at the trail for a long way, and I didn't see anybody else. So I was like, man, I hope he didn't drop out, you know, with less than 10 miles to go on the whole race. That would be sad. All right, I am at 98.24 miles. I'm just about to make the descent to the finish line. And this went surprisingly well. I mean, I didn't have any issues. I didn't bonk. I didn't get cramps. I didn't get low spots. Nothing. It was awesome. Couldn't have had a better time. It was really great. I think I'm gonna try to run this last batch. I don't look like a little bitch when I come across the finish line. I've been walking for a little while because it's a big old climb here. But yeah, cruised through and hit that last part of the race, and I finished within the times, and I got my buckle. Got my freaking buckle. So excited about that. And my overall time was 30 hours, and the cutoff was 33. So I made it with 3 hours to spare, which is good. And it was the second to last finisher. However, out of all the people that did the 100 miler, I think there were 32 or 33 people that did a 100 mile, and I came in 20th or 21st. So even though it was like the second to last finisher, 33% of the people that entered didn't even make it. So I came in front of them. So that was good. But anyway, that was pretty much the whole race. Another thing is, like, I brought headphones. I brought multiple sets of headphones. Didn't even wear them. I left them in the car. Didn't wear them. Didn't listen to music. Didn't listen to podcasts. Just had my ears open. Just listen to my stuff. I had my phone. I took some video for the first, 50 miles on and off I took. But after it started to get dark, I just put my phone on airplane mode and put it away. So I didn't really take any more video after that. I got some video that Natalie got of me here and there. I'm going to try to add that to this. But overall, the course was great. The first ultramarathon I technically did was Griffith Park 50K. It was the same organizers that put on that race. They did a very good job. KH races. I'll put a link to them below. And anyway, that was my recap of the Leona Divide 100-mile ultramarathon. I did a video about all the gear that I brought with me and all the stuff I packed in the car. I will put that here. I'm going to do a video about my training plan, and I'll put that one here. I don't know, I'm going to put here something else, maybe whatever YouTube thinks you'll like, or maybe I'll put something else here. And then subscribe over here, maybe. Thanks so much for stopping by. Kids, have fun. Talk to you soon. Later. Bye!